I stared at my phone, scrolling through Instagram with trembling hands. There they were, my parents and sister Olivia posing at my favorite restaurant celebrating my birthday. Without me. The caption under my sister's post read, "Perfect family celebration. Nothing better than Morton's steaks. Party popper red heart." The thing is, I was the one who introduced them to Morton's. I was the one who had been paying for their extravagant dinners, their luxury vacations, their entire lifestyle for the past 5 years. And now they couldn't even bother to invite me to my own birthday dinner. Let me back up a bit. I'm Sarah Anderson, 34, and for the past 5 years, I've been the silent backbone of my family's finances. Not that they ever acknowledged it. To them, I was just the lucky daughter who happened to have a good job and could afford to help out. It started small. 5 years ago, when my father lost his job, my mother called me in tears. "Sarah, honey, we might lose the house. Your father's too proud to ask, but..." I transferred the money that same day. $15,000 to cover their mortgage payments until Dad found work. Except he didn't rush to find a new job. Why would he? His eldest daughter had proven she could handle the bills. Then came Olivia's emergencies. Her car broke down. Her rent was due. She needed seed money for her influencer career. Each time I opened my wallet, each time they treated it as their due. "Family helps family," Mom would say while planning another vacation with my money. "You're so blessed to be able to give back," Olivia would gush, while posting photos of the designer bags I'd funded. I never asked for recognition. Never demanded praise. But I did expect basic respect. Basic consideration. The money itself wasn't the issue. My job as a senior investment banker meant I could afford it. What ate at me was how they took it and me for granted. Last month, when they mentioned wanting to go to the Maldives, I didn't hesitate. I booked them the overwater villa, the seaplane transfers, the premium experiences. $47,000 for their dream family vacation. "You're not coming?" Mom had asked, but her tone suggested relief rather than disappointment. "No, I have to work," I'd said. The truth was, I'd never been invited in the first place. I was just the bank. And now, scrolling through more photos of my birthday dinner, the wine I usually ordered, the chocolate souffle I always shared with Dad, something inside me finally broke. I opened my banking app and looked at the pending transfer for their Maldives trip. They were supposed to leave in 2 weeks. The money hadn't gone through yet. My phone buzzed. A text from Olivia. "Oh, sis, guess what? Mom and Dad are taking me shopping tomorrow to get new clothes for the Maldives. Can't wait. You're the best. Red heart." No mention of my birthday. No acknowledgement that they'd celebrated without me. Just another demand disguised as gratitude. I clicked on her Instagram story. There they were, laughing at Morton's, my father raising a toast with the expensive wine I'd taught him about. "To family," the caption read. "To family." My fingers hovered over the banking app. One click and I could cancel the transfer. One click and their dream vacation would vanish like they'd made me vanish from my own birthday celebration. But could I do it? After 5 years of being the perfect daughter, the reliable ATM, the invisible support system, could I finally stand up for myself? Another photo popped up on my feed. Olivia showing off the Gucci bag I'd bought her last month. When you're blessed with the most amazing family. Folded hands sparkles. The most amazing family. I thought about all the times I'd eaten lunch alone at my desk to save money for their expenses. The vacations I'd skipped because I was funding theirs. The dreams I'd put on hold to fuel their lifestyle. My phone buzzed again. A message from Mom. "Honey, don't forget to transfer the final payment for the Maldives. Olivia needs to buy some things for the trip. Maybe another $5,000? Love you." Face blowing a kiss. No, happy birthday. No invitation to dinner. Just another request for money. I opened my laptop and pulled up the records of everything I'd paid for over the past 5 years. The numbers made me dizzy. Asterisk family vacations, $167,000. Asterisk Olivia's emergencies, $89,000. Asterisk parents' mortgage payments, $156,000. Asterisk luxury dinners and shopping, $94,000. Total, over $500,000. And what had I gotten in return? Exclusion from my own birthday dinner. My hand wasn't trembling anymore as I opened the travel agency's website. Years of suppressed anger had crystallized into cold, clear purpose. They wanted to take my money without taking me? Fine. But now they were about to learn what happens when you bite the hand that feeds you. I picked up my phone and started typing an email to the family's favorite travel agent, the one I paid to handle all their luxury bookings. It was time to make some changes to their Maldives plans. After all, what's a birthday without giving yourself a gift? And my gift to myself would be something priceless. The look on their faces when they realized exactly what they'd lost. The morning after my forgotten birthday, I woke up to 17 missed calls and 32 text messages. Not birthday wishes, they were all about the Maldives trip. Sarah, what's going on? The travel agent says there's a problem with the booking. Mom, call me a... This isn't funny. Dad, Mrs. please fix this. I already bought new bikinis. Olivia. I sipped my coffee, reading each message with a calm I hadn't felt in years. Last night, after sending that email to the travel agent, I'd done more than just cancel their trip. I'd finally opened my eyes to 5 years of manipulation. My phone rang again. This time I answered. Sarah. Thank goodness. Linda from Paradise Travel says our trip is canceled. There must be some mistake with the payment. No mistake, I said quietly. I canceled it. Silence. Then, you what? I canceled the trip, Mom. All of it. The villa, the flights, the experiences. Everything. But why would you do that? Her voice rose in pitch. We're leaving in 2 weeks. Olivia already bought new clothes. Your father told everyone at his golf club. Did you enjoy Morton's last night? I asked instead of responding. The wine there is excellent, isn't it? Especially that vintage Bordeaux Dad loves. The one I introduced him to. Another silence, longer this time. Sarah. She started, but I cut her off. Don't bother explaining. I saw the photos. All of them. My birthday dinner looked lovely, shame I wasn't invited. Oh honey, we didn't think. I mean, you're always so busy with work. Busy earning the money you spend, I finished for her. Busy funding the lifestyle you love. Busy being the ATM you take for granted. That's not fair, she protested. We're family. We appreciate everything you do. Everything I do? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Let's talk about everything I do, Mom. Let's talk about the $500,000 I've given this family over the past 5 years. Half million, she stammered. I have spreadsheets, I said coldly. Every vacation. Every shopping spree. Every mortgage payment. Would you like me to email them to you? We can go through them together. Maybe over dinner at Morton's. The doorbell rang right on schedule. Hold on, Mom. Someone's at my door. I opened it to find a courier with an envelope. Inside were printouts of every transaction I'd made for my family over the past 5 years, along with screenshots of social media posts showing how they'd spent my money. I'd stayed up late preparing this. Actually, Mom, check your email. I just sent you something interesting. I heard the ping of her phone, followed by a sharp intake of breath as she opened the attachment. Sarah, what is this? That's your debt to me, Mom. Every penny I've spent keeping this family in luxury. Plus screenshots of Olivia's Instagram posts bragging about her blessed life. Oh, and photos from my birthday dinner that I wasn't invited to. But that's different. That was just a small family dinner. Small family dinner? I repeated. At the restaurant I introduced you to, drinking the wine I taught Dad about. On my birthday. My father's voice came on the line. She'd put me on speaker. Now listen here, Sarah. You're being childish. So we had dinner without you. You're always too busy for family anyway. Too busy working to pay your bills, I corrected him. How's the job search going, Dad? Oh wait, you stopped looking once I started paying the mortgage, didn't you? That's not. And Olivia, I continued, knowing she was listening too. How's the influencer career? The one I've been funding? Those designer bags make great props for your posts about being self-made, don't they? You're just jealous. Olivia burst out. Jealous that I'm building something while you just work your boring bank job. My boring bank job that paid for your entire life? I smiled, though they couldn't see it. Well, consider this my resignation as family financier. What does that mean? Mom asked, her voice shaking. It means no more trips. No more shopping sprees. No more mortgage payments. No more bailouts when Olivia's credit cards are maxed out. You can't do this. Olivia screeched. I have followers. I have a brand. A brand built on my credit cards, I reminded her. Speaking of which, check your Amex, Olivia. All those supplementary cards I gave you, they're canceled too. I heard her frantically typing, then a wail of despair. Pi cards. They're not working. None of them will, I said calmly. I've canceled everything. The cards, the automatic payments, the transfers. You're on your own. But what about the house? Mom whispered. Your mortgage payment is due next week, isn't it? Better start calling realtors. Or maybe Dad could actually look for a job. Sarah, please. Mom's voice turned soothing, her manipulation voice. We're family. We need you. No, Mom. You need my money. There's a difference. I took a deep breath. You know what I needed? I needed my family to remember my birthday. To include me in celebrations. To value me as a daughter and sister, not as a bank account. We do value you. Dad protested. Really? When was the last time you asked about my life? My dreams? When was the last time you invited me to dinner just to spend time with me, not to ask for money? Silence. That's what I thought. I opened my laptop where I'd queued up one final email. Check your inbox again. I heard the notifications ping. What is this? Mom's voice was trembling. That's a complete record of everything I've paid for, sent to Dad's entire golf club. And Olivia, I've forwarded all your credit card statements to your followers. Let's see how they feel about your self-made success now. You wouldn't. Olivia gasped. My finger hovered over the send button. Try me. Sarah, honey, Mom tried again. We can talk about this. We can work something out. Like you worked out my birthday dinner? I asked sweetly. The one you posted all over social media? We'll make it up to you. Dad jumped in. We'll have another dinner, a better one. No thanks. I've already made my own birthday plans. I glanced at my real gift to myself. Tickets for a solo trip to Greece. And don't worry about the Maldives villa. I've booked it for myself. After all, I paid for it. But what about us? Olivia whimpered. What about you? You're all adults. Figure it out. I looked at the email again, my finger still on the mouse. Unless you'd like me to share with the world exactly how you've been living? The panic in their voices was almost comical. They spent the next hour begging, pleading, threatening, and finally negotiating. I listened to it all with a detachment that surprised me. Finally, we reached an agreement. I wouldn't expose their financial dependence on me publicly, but in return, they had to post honest apologies on social media for missing my birthday. They had to admit to their friends that they couldn't afford the Maldives trip. And most importantly, they had to stop pretending their lifestyle was anything other than what it was, funded by the daughter they'd taken for granted. One more thing, I added before hanging up. Next year, don't bother with birthday dinner plans. I won't be available. Where will you be? Mom asked quietly. Living my life. Spending my money on myself. Being the daughter you never appreciated and the sister you never supported. I smiled. But hey, at least you've got each other, right? That's what family's all about. I hung up before they could respond. Over the next few weeks, I watched as reality hit them hard. Olivia had to admit to her followers that she wasn't actually a successful influencer. Dad had to tell his golf club friends he couldn't afford the membership anymore. Mom had to cancel her weekly spa appointments. They tried reaching out multiple times, each message more desperate than the last. Sarah, please, just one more transfer to get us through the month. The mortgage company is calling. Can we work something out? My followers are unfollowing me. This is all your fault. I left them all unread. Instead, I focused on myself. I booked that trip to Greece, first class all the way. I bought myself the designer bags I'd always denied myself while buying them for Olivia. I started having dinner at Morton's whenever I wanted, always ordering that expensive Bordeaux. 3 months later, I ran into them at a local diner, a far cry from their usual upscale restaurants. They looked different. Olivia was wearing off-the-rack clothes. Dad had lost the designer golf attire. Mom's perfectly maintained appearance had slipped. They saw me too, their eyes following me as I walked past their table. I was wearing one of my new designer dresses, car keys to my new Mercedes dangling from my hand. Sarah, Mom called out weakly. We miss you. I paused, turning to look at them. No, Mom. You miss my money. That's not true, Olivia protested, but her eyes were fixed on my Gucci bag, the same model I'd bought her last year. Really? I raised an eyebrow. Then you won't mind that I'm taking that Maldives trip next week. The one you were so excited about. The villa is gorgeous. I'll make sure to post lots of photos. I walked out, leaving them with their cheap coffee and bitter regrets. As I drove away in my new car, I felt nothing but peace. Sometimes the best birthday gift you can give yourself is freedom. Freedom from manipulation, from guilt, from the weight of carrying people who never appreciated the lift. My phone buzzed. A notification from the travel agent confirming my Maldives itinerary. I smiled, thinking about the overwater villa that would now be my sanctuary instead of their stage for social media posts. Sometimes losing a family that only valued you for your money isn't really a loss at all. It's an investment in yourself, the best investment I've ever made.
The lawyer's office was unnaturally quiet as Mr. Davidson adjusted his reading glasses. My sister Evelyn sat perfectly poised in her designer suit, barely containing her smile. She'd already been told what was coming. They all had. I was just here as a formality. Let's proceed with the reading of James and Margaret Harrison's final will and testament, Mr. Davidson began, his voice echoing in the wood-paneled room. I gripped the arms of my chair, trying to keep my face neutral. The past month since my parents' accident had been a blur of funeral arrangements and family tensions, with Evelyn taking charge as always. The perfect daughter, the successful one, the one who followed the path our parents had laid out. To our eldest daughter, Evelyn Harrison, Mr. Davidson read, we leave our primary residence at 1420 Oak Grove Lane, valued at $4.2 million, along with all contents and surrounding property. Evelyn's smile widened. The mansion had been her childhood dream, with its sprawling gardens and marble fountains. Additionally, all stocks, bonds, and liquid assets, totaling approximately $8.5 million, will transfer to Evelyn's control. I closed my eyes briefly. It wasn't unexpected. Evelyn had been handling our parents' investments for years through her financial firm. But it still stung. To our younger daughter, Catherine Harrison, Mr. Davidson continued, his tone softening slightly. We leave storage unit 247 at Riverside Storage Facility, along with all its contents. Evelyn actually laughed out loud. A storage unit? Oh, that's perfect. I remembered that unit. Dad had rented it 20 years ago, right after Grandpa died. He'd spent weeks moving things there, but whenever anyone asked what was inside, he'd just smile and say, old memories. Additionally, Mr. Davidson added, there is a letter for Catherine. He handed me a thick cream envelope. My father's distinctive handwriting spelled out my name, but something about it seemed off, like his hand had been shaking when he wrote it. Is that everything? Evelyn asked, already reaching for her phone. I need to call the estate agent about getting the house cleaned out. Mr. Davidson nodded. The reading is concluded. Catherine, if you'll stay a moment to sign some papers regarding the storage unit. But I was already opening the letter, my hands trembling slightly. My dearest Catherine, if you're reading this, then everything has gone according to plan. Yes, plan. What's happening today isn't an accident or an oversight. It's the culmination of 20 years of preparation. The storage unit isn't just a collection of old furniture and forgotten boxes. It's your grandfather's legacy, and now it's yours. But before you go there, you need to understand something. Your grandfather didn't die of a heart attack like everyone believes. He was murdered. The truth about his death, about his work, about everything, it's all in that unit. But you can't trust anyone with this information. Not your sister, not my old friends, not even the family lawyer. Too many people wanted what your grandfather discovered, and they're still looking for it today. Go to the unit tonight, alone. Use the key in this envelope, not the one they'll give you at the facility. And remember what I taught you about looking deeper than the surface. I'm sorry for all the years of seeming favoritism, for letting your sister think she was getting everything. It was the only way to keep you safe, to keep them from suspecting. Be careful, be smart, and most importantly, be worthy of your grandfather's trust. All my love, Dad. My hands shook as I folded the letter. A small key had fallen out, old, brass, nothing like the modern keys used at storage facilities. "Catherine?" Mr. Davidson's voice snapped me back to reality. "The papers?" I signed where he indicated, barely registering the documents. My mind was racing with questions. Murder? A secret legacy? What had my grandfather really been involved in? "Enjoy your junk," Evelyn called as she sashayed out. "I'm thinking of renovating the east wing of the house. You know, where your old room was? Maybe a home spa." I barely heard her. The key felt heavy in my pocket, like it was pulling me toward whatever secrets it would unlock. That evening, I drove to Riverside Storage as the sun was setting. The facility was quiet, most of the daily staff gone. My official key card opened the main gate, but I didn't head to Unit 247 right away. Instead, I drove around the perimeter, checking for other cars, watching for any sign I was being followed. Dad's warning about trust rang in my ears. Had someone been watching the facility, waiting for this day? Was I being paranoid? Or was that car at the end of row C sitting a little too casually? I parked in front of a different unit and waited, pretending to check my phone. After 15 minutes, the car in row C drove away. Another 10 minutes passed before I felt safe enough to walk to Unit 247. The unit looked identical to all the others, corrugated metal door, padlock, nothing special. But when I looked closer, I noticed something odd. The hinges were different, newer than the other units. The lock, while appearing standard, had subtle markings that suggested it wasn't just for show. I tried the facility key first, just to be sure. It didn't work. Taking a deep breath, I pulled out the brass key from Dad's letter. It fit perfectly. The door opened silently, too silently for something supposedly unused for 20 years. Inside, motion sensor lights flickered on automatically, revealing what looked like a normal storage unit. Old furniture covered in dust cloths. Boxes labeled Christmas decorations and old files. A stack of what appeared to be ordinary moving crates. But Dad had taught me well about looking deeper. The first thing I noticed was the floor. Under the thin layer of dust, it was perfectly level. Poured concrete, not the usual storage unit material. The walls, while appearing to be standard metal, had a solidity that suggested reinforcement. I moved to the stack of boxes labeled Christmas decorations. The dust pattern was wrong, too even, too arranged. Carefully, I lifted the top box. It was heavy, but not with ornaments. Inside, nestled in protective foam, was a laptop. Not an old one. This was brand new, still sealed in plastic. The old files boxes contained more technology, tablets, hard drives, what looked like custom security equipment. Everything was new, everything carefully hidden under a layer of deliberate aging. But it was the moving crates that made my breath catch. They were sealed with sophisticated electronic locks, each requiring both a key card and a fingerprint. At the bottom of Dad's letter envelope, I found both. The first crate contained papers, hundreds of them. Research documents, chemical formulas, engineering diagrams. Many bore my grandfather's signature, but the dates were wrong. They showed work continuing years after his supposed death. The second crate held prototype devices I couldn't even begin to understand. They looked like something out of a science fiction movie, sleek, advanced, definitely not 20 years old. The third crate made me sink to my knees. Gold bars, bearer bonds, stock certificates, and a document showing account numbers for banks in Switzerland, the Cayman Islands, and Singapore. A quick calculation suggested I was looking at wealth that would make Evelyn's inheritance look like pocket change. But it was the fourth crate that changed everything. Inside was a single leather journal, my grandfather's private diary. The first entry was dated the day after his death. "They think they've won," it began. "They think a formula died with my supposed heart attack. But they've underestimated me, and more importantly, they've underestimated my granddaughter. Catherine was always the one who saw beyond the surface, who asked the right questions. She's the only one I can trust with what I've discovered. James, if you're reading this, you know what to do. Keep her safe, keep her unnoticed until she's ready. And Catherine, when you finally read these words, remember, what I discovered isn't just a formula. It's a key to changing the world. Use it wisely, use it well, and most importantly, use it to finish what I started." I sat there for hours, reading through documents, connecting pieces of a puzzle I hadn't even known existed. My grandfather hadn't just been a successful chemist. He discovered something revolutionary, something people had killed for, something they were still looking for. And now I knew why Dad had let everyone think Evelyn was getting everything. He'd been protecting me, protecting this legacy, setting up an elaborate deception that would keep suspicion away from storage unit 247. As dawn approached, I carefully repacked everything except the laptop and the journal. I had weeks of reading ahead, secrets to uncover, and a legacy to understand. But one thing was already clear: this worthless inheritance was about to change everything. Over the next 3 weeks, I barely slept. Every night, I returned to the storage unit, methodically working through my grandfather's research. What I discovered was staggering. He had developed a revolutionary energy storage system, one that could make batteries thousands of times more efficient than anything currently available. The implications were enormous. Electric vehicles that could run for months on a single charge, renewable energy that could be stored indefinitely, entire cities powered by clean, sustainable technology. But that wasn't all. Hidden in the technical specifications were clues about why this discovery had cost him his life and nearly cost me my inheritance. Major oil companies tried to buy me out, one journal entry read. When I refused, the threats began. Then the accidents. They weren't very creative. Brake lines mysteriously failing, gas leaks in the lab. But I knew it was only a matter of time before they succeeded. The fake heart attack, it turned out, had been his way of protecting the research. With help from my father, he'd gone into hiding, continuing his work in secret while the world thought he was dead. Your father understands the risks, another entry explained. He agreed to play his part, favoring Evelyn, making everyone think you were the less successful child. The perfect cover. Who would suspect the daughter who got nothing but a storage unit? I was deep in these revelations when my phone buzzed. Evelyn. Darling, her voice dripped with false sweetness. I'm having a little gathering tonight to celebrate my new home. I thought you might like to come see what you're missing. I almost refused, but then I thought about maintaining appearances. Sure, I said, trying to sound appropriately dejected. What time? The mansion was lit up like a Christmas tree when I arrived. Luxury cars filled the circular driveway, and the sound of expensive laughter drifted through open windows. I parked my modest car at the far end, playing my expected role. Catherine. Evelyn called out as I entered. Everyone, this is my little sister, the one I told you about. She turned to me with a practiced, sympathetic smile. I hope the storage unit isn't too overwhelming. Do you need help cleaning it out? Oh, I've barely started looking through it, I lied smoothly. Just some old furniture and boxes. If you need money for a moving truck, she offered loudly enough for nearby guests to hear. I could probably help. I know things must be tight. That's kind of you, I replied, noting the strange car that had just pulled up outside. Black, unmarked, with tinted windows. Through the mansion's large windows, I watched 2 men in suits step out, scanning the area with too much intensity for party guests. My grandfather's warning suddenly felt very real. Excuse me, I murmured, slipping away to the powder room. Through the small window, I watched the men enter the house. They moved with purpose, their eyes constantly scanning, hands positioned near concealed weapons. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. They know. Get out now. I recognized the number's pattern. It was from one of the secure phones in the storage unit. Dad had set up fail-safes I hadn't even discovered yet. Moving carefully through the crowded house, I made my way toward the back door. Behind me, I heard one of the men asking Evelyn about me. I was almost to the door when a firm hand gripped my arm. Ms. Harrison, we need to talk. The man's suit was expensive, but his grip suggested military training. His partner moved to cut off my escape route. Actually, a new voice called out, she's not going anywhere. Everyone turned. Standing in the doorway was an elderly man I'd only seen in photographs. My grandfather. The party fell silent. Evelyn's champagne glass shattered on the marble floor. The 2 men's hands moved toward their weapons, but suddenly they were surrounded by what appeared to be regular party guests, all now holding badges. Federal agents, my grandfather announced calmly. These gentlemen work for some rather unethical energy companies. Companies that have been trying to stop my work for 20 years. He walked toward me, looking exactly like his photos except for some expertly done aging makeup. Hello, Catherine. Sorry for the dramatic entrance, but we needed to draw them out. "Grandpa," Evelyn stammered. "But you're dead." "Reports of my death were greatly exaggerated," he smiled. "And necessary, just like the fiction that Catherine was getting nothing in the will." The federal agents were handcuffing the two men, reading them their rights. More agents appeared, securing the house. "I don't understand," Evelyn said, looking between us. "What's happening?" Grandfather placed a hand on my shoulder. "Your sister has inherited something far more valuable than this house. She's inherited the future." Over the next hour, as the party guests were questioned and released, my grandfather explained everything. The energy storage system was now patent pending, with Catherine Industries, my new company, as the sole owner. The prototypes had been successfully tested, and major tech companies were already lining up with offers. The storage unit, I realized it wasn't just for hiding the research. It was my first test. Grandfather nodded. You had to prove you could see beyond appearances, that you could be patient and methodical. The family fortune was the perfect distraction. Everyone was so focused on the mansion and the money that they never looked deeper. "But why?" Evelyn demanded. "Why give everything to me if it was just a distraction?" "Because you would have bragged about anything else," I said quietly. "You would have shown off, drawn attention. By giving you exactly what everyone expected, they kept the real inheritance hidden." The next few months were a whirlwind. Catherine Industries went public with a valuation that made Evelyn's inheritance look like pocket change. The energy storage technology was licensed to major manufacturers, with strict controls to prevent monopolization. Evelyn, to her credit, eventually came to terms with everything. She even offered to help with the company's financial management, though this time, she had to interview for the position like everyone else. Dad's letter had been right about not trusting anyone initially, but he'd also taught me about forgiveness. Once the danger had passed, once the people who had threatened my grandfather were behind bars, there was room for family reconciliation. The storage unit remained exactly as it was, a reminder that appearances can be deceiving. I kept the Christmas decorations, boxes, and dusty furniture in place, adding new security systems behind the shabby exterior. 1 year later, I stood in my grandfather's old office, now mine, looking out over the city. The first commercial products using our energy storage technology were hitting the market. Electric cars could now run for months without recharging. Solar power plants could store energy through entire seasons. My phone buzzed. "Evelyn, turn on the news. They're calling you the next Edison." I smiled, watching the sun set over buildings that would soon be powered by my grandfather's discovery. The mansion she'd inherited now seemed like such a small thing compared to this legacy. A knock at my door interrupted my thoughts. My grandfather entered, looking much more like himself now that he no longer needed to hide. "Your father would be proud," he said softly. "He always knew you were the right choice." I picked up the old brass key from my desk, the one that had opened not just a storage unit, but a new future. "I still can't believe the elaborate plan you two created." "Sometimes the best way to protect something valuable is to hide it in plain sight," he replied. "Just like that storage unit. Ordinary on the outside, extraordinary within." I thought about all the people who had laughed at my worthless inheritance. The relatives who had pitied me, the sister who had gloated, the party guests who had whispered behind their hands. None of them had understood that true value isn't always obvious. Sometimes it's hidden behind rusty doors and dusty boxes. Sometimes it takes patience and wisdom to recognize it. And sometimes the greatest inheritance isn't what you can see. It's what you can discover if you just look a little deeper. Now when people ask about my success, I just smile and say I got my start with a small storage unit. Let them think what they want. After all, the best secrets are often hidden in the most ordinary places. And as for Evelyn's mansion, she finally sold it last month to me. Not because I needed it, but because sometimes the best revenge is simply showing that what they thought was everything was really nothing compared to what you've built. I turned the old brass key over in my hands one last time before placing it in a display case in my office. Next to it, I put the original letter from my father and my grandfather's journal. A reminder that inheritance isn't always about money or property. Sometimes it's about trust, vision, and the courage to look beyond the surface. The evening sun caught the brass key, making it shine like gold. Just like that storage unit, it was never about what people could see. It was about what lay hidden inside, waiting for the right person to discover its true value. The rain pounded against my car windows as I watched my husband David pack my belongings into cardboard boxes. From the driveway, I could see his mother, Patricia, standing smugly in our doorway, finally victorious after 2 years of trying to destroy our marriage. "I can't believe you lied to me," David had said just hours earlier, his voice filled with hurt and betrayal. "Mom showed me everything. Your car registration to a parking lot, your suspicious bank transfers, even photos of you sleeping in your car. You're not really a software engineer, are you? You're homeless, using me for money." If only he knew the truth. The suspicious transfers were to my father's medical research foundation. The car registration was for my corporate parking space at Zhang Industries' secure facility. And those photos of me sleeping in my car, taken during my overnight surveillance shifts, monitoring potential corporate espionage. But I couldn't tell him any of that. Not yet. Not while my father was still tracking down the people who had tried to destroy our company and kill him 5 years ago. "David, please," I called out from my car. "Just let me explain." "Explain what, Sarah?" Patricia's voice dripped with fake concern. "How you fooled my son with your sad stories about your dead father? How you claim to work for some mysterious tech company but can't ever show him your office?" She walked over to my car, designer heels clicking on the wet pavement. "I had you investigated, you know. There's no record of a Sarah Zhang working as a software engineer anywhere in the city. Just a homeless woman with a history of dating wealthy men." I gripped my steering wheel tighter, fighting back tears. The investigation must have been what triggered our security protocols, erasing my digital footprint. Dad had warned me this might happen, that someone might start digging into my past. "I know what you really are," Patricia continued, leaning close to my window. "A gold-digging scammer who thought she could trap my son. Well, guess what? I win. David's filing for divorce, and you'll never see a penny of our family's money." What Patricia didn't know was that her family money was nothing compared to what I really was, the heir to Zhang Industries, one of the largest technology conglomerates in Asia. My dead father was very much alive, working undercover to expose a corporate espionage ring that had nearly destroyed us 5 years ago. As I watched David carry the last box inside, my secure phone buzzed with a message that would change everything. "Operation complete. Coming home. Time to show them who you really are. Dad." Attached was a news alert that made my heart stop. Bari A. King. Tech billionaire Michael Zhang returns after 5 years. Zhang Industries stock soars. Patricia was still gloating at my window when she noticed the headline on my phone. Her face went from smug to shocked in an instant. "Zhang Industries. But that's impossible. You're just a homeless." The sound of helicopter blades cut her off. A sleek black chopper with the Zhang Industries logo was descending onto their perfectly manicured lawn. The helicopter's landing kicked up a storm of debris across Patricia's prized rose garden. David rushed outside, shielding his eyes from the swirling wind as the aircraft's door opened. My father stepped out, looking exactly as he had 5 years ago. Elegant in his tailored suit, silver hair immaculate, that familiar kind smile on his face. Behind him, a team of serious-looking men in dark suits spread out across the property. "Sarah," he called out, ignoring Patricia and David completely. "Are you all right, sweetheart?" I stepped out of my car, rain soaking through my clothes. "Dad?" Patricia's face cycled through shock, confusion, and fear. "Dad? But you're dead." The investigation showed. "Showed what, Mrs. Harrison?" Dad's voice turned cold. "That Sarah's father died in a car accident 5 years ago. That she has no employment records. No permanent address." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Your investigation was very thorough. Unfortunately, you were investigating a cover story." David stepped forward, looking lost. "Cover story? What's going on?" "Perhaps," Dad suggested, "we should continue this conversation inside. Unless Mrs. Harrison would prefer to discuss her connection to Harrison Technologies out here in the rain." Patricia's face went white. "Harrison Technologies, our biggest competitor and the company behind the attempted takeover that have forced Dad into hiding." I don't know what you're talking about," she stammered. Dad pulled out a tablet, displaying documents that made Patricia sway on her feet. "Really? Then perhaps you can explain why you've been meeting with your brother, James Harrison, every Tuesday at the Crown Hotel. The same James Harrison who orchestrated the attempt on my life 5 years ago." David's head snapped toward his mother. "Mom? What is he talking about? It's all lies." Patricia shrieked. "She's the liar, living in her car, pretending to be poor." "Actually," I finally spoke up, my voice steady. "I never pretended to be poor. You just assumed. Those photos of me sleeping in my car? I was monitoring your meetings with Harrison Technologies executives. The parking lot registration, it's for the secure underground facility where we've been tracking your brother's corporate espionage operation." Security footage began playing on Dad's tablet, showing Patricia passing confidential documents to her brother, planning the takedown of Zhang Industries from within, using her son's marriage to get close to the heir of their biggest rival. "You see, David," Dad explained gently, "your mother isn't just a concerned parent. She's been part of a corporate espionage ring for years, and when you married my daughter." But before he could finish, Patricia made a desperate dash for her car. She didn't get far. The serious-looking men in suits moved with practiced efficiency, blocking her escape. "Mrs. Harrison," a familiar voice called out. "Or should I say, Agent Harrison? I believe we have some questions about your CIA credentials." Federal agents emerged from unmarked cars surrounding the house. But as they moved to arrest Patricia, I noticed something strange in her eyes. Not fear, but triumph. "You really think this is over?" She laughed. "You have no idea what's really going on. Why do you think I pushed so hard to end this marriage today specifically?" Dad's phone suddenly buzzed with multiple alerts. His face darkened as he read them. "Sarah," he said urgently, "check the house. Now. Because today wasn't just any day. It was the day Zhang Industries was supposed to announce its revolutionary quantum computing breakthrough. And Patricia's desperate scheme to separate me from David suddenly made terrible sense." I raced into the house with Dad's security team, heading straight for my home office. The door was ajar. It had been locked when I left. Inside, my secure laptop was missing, and my backup drives were gone. "Looking for these?" David's voice came from behind me. He stood in the doorway, holding my laptop and drives, his face unreadable. "David, please," I said carefully, "you don't understand what you're holding." "Actually," he replied, "I understand perfectly." He pressed a sequence of keys on my laptop, and my heart stopped as I recognized the initialization sequence for our quantum encryption prototype. "How did you know the sequence?" He smiled sadly. "Because I helped design it. Project Phoenix, ring any bells, Sarah? Or should I call you Agent John?" Dad appeared behind him, and for the first time in my life, I saw real fear in his eyes. "Your counterintelligence," Dad said quietly. "CIA deep cover assigned to watch both sides, my daughter and your mother." David nodded. 5 years tracking Harrison Technologies' espionage. 3 years documenting Zhang Industries' quantum computing program. 2 years, his voice caught, 2 years falling in love with my target. The room felt like all the air had been sucked out. "Was any of it real?" I whispered. "All of it," David replied. "Every moment. That's what makes this so hard." He turned to my father. "Mr. Zhang, your quantum computing breakthrough isn't just revolutionary, it's dangerous. In the wrong hands, it could crack every military encryption on the planet." "We developed it for medical research," Dad protested. "For predicting protein folding, finding cures." "And what happens when someone like Harrison Technologies steals it?" David countered. "Your sister-in-law Patricia isn't just a corporate spy. She's a front for an international technology cartel. They've been playing both sides, Zhang Industries and Harrison Technologies, waiting for this moment." Suddenly, more alarms started blaring. On my office screens, security alerts flashed from Zhang Industries facilities worldwide. "Right now," David continued, "simultaneous raids are happening at every Zhang facility globally. The quantum computing data is being seized by international authorities. Your technology is being classified as a national security risk." "And my mother?" I asked, pieces finally clicking into place. "Deep cover CIA, like me. Her arrest outside is theater, giving her cover to escape with the real target." "Which is?" David's face softened. "You, Sarah. They don't just want the technology. They want the person who can rebuild it from memory." That's when the house's lights went out and gas started seeping through the ventilation system. "I'm sorry," David said, pulling on a gas mask, "but you're both coming with us." As my vision started to blur, I saw more figures in tactical gear entering the room. But through my fading consciousness, I noticed something odd. Dad was smiling. "David," he said calmly, "did you really think we didn't know? About you? About Patricia? About everything?" The last thing I saw before passing out was Dad pressing his watch and the floor beneath us starting to move. When I regained consciousness, I wasn't in a CIA black site as expected. Instead, I was in a familiar place, the real Zhang Industries Command Center, 50 stories beneath our Hong Kong headquarters. "Welcome back, sweetheart," Dad's voice came from nearby. I opened my eyes to see him sitting calmly at a control panel. Next to him, bound to a chair but very much awake, was David. "How?" David struggled against his restraints. "The gas, the tactical team. We're all mine," a new voice said. My mother walked in, very much alive despite having supposedly died when I was a child. "Did you really think the CIA was the only one who could run a deep cover operation, Agent Sullivan?" Mom looked exactly as I remembered, just older and somehow more formidable. She was wearing a Zhang Industries executive suit, not the tactical gear from earlier. "You see," Dad explained, "we've known about the CIA's interest in our quantum computing project from the beginning, just as we've known about Harrison Technologies' infiltration attempts. So we created a triple-blind operation." The screens around us lit up, showing years of surveillance footage. David's recruitment, Patricia's meetings, everything. "Sarah's homelessness was indeed a cover," Mom continued, "but not for what you thought. While you were investigating her, she was allowing you to investigate her, all while running the real quantum computing project from a different facility. The prototype you seized," I finally spoke up, my voice hoarse, "was a decoy. The real breakthrough happened 6 months ago. We just needed to flush out all the players." David's face showed the first crack in his professional demeanor. 6 months, when we got married. "I did love you," I said softly. "That part was real, but I also knew who you were from the day we met. Because I chose you, David, not the other way around." "Agent Sullivan has an impressive record," Mom added. "Top of his class at Langley, perfect deep cover credentials. Exactly the kind of person we wanted watching over our daughter while we completed the real project." Dad pressed a button, and screens worldwide showed Zhang Industries stock soaring as we announced not just a quantum computing breakthrough, but a complete quantum encryption platform, one that would make unauthorized surveillance impossible. "So you see," Dad smiled, "everyone played their part perfectly. The CIA got their operation thinking they were shutting down dangerous technology. Harrison Technologies thought they were closing in on their target. And he looked at me proudly. We changed the future of global communications." "What happens now?" David asked quietly. I stood up, walking over to him. "That depends on you. Because while everything else was calculated, falling in love with you wasn't part of the plan. And now you have a choice." Mom handed me a key to his restraints and a Zhang Industries security badge. "You can go back to the CIA, report what happened. Watch your career disappear as they realize how completely they were outplayed. Or," I held up the badge, "you can join us. For real this time, no more covers, no more lies." "Why would I trust you now?" he asked. I leaned in close, whispering, "Because I'm giving you the one thing nobody else has, the truth. And a choice." 1 year later, Zhang Industries' quantum platform has revolutionized secure communications. David runs our counterintelligence division using his CIA experience to protect what we built. Patricia and her brother are in federal custody. It turns out even the CIA doesn't like being double-crossed. As for me, I still drive the same car, but now everyone knows who I really am. Sometimes on late nights at the office, David and I look back at our wedding photos and laugh about how many spies were in attendance, his, mine, and at least 3 other agencies. Mom says true love can survive anything, even international espionage. Dad says trust is built on truth, even if that truth takes time to be revealed. Me, I believe the best operations are like the best relationships, built on understanding not just who someone appears to be, but who they really are beneath all the covers and codes. And sometimes, the greatest security isn't in what you hide, but in what you choose to reveal.